All right, so let us begin. It may be March, but just around the corner is April. And as much as our lives have transitioned very quickly in the past week or 2 weeks for many of us, we are still full steam ahead. So our rape crisis centers have certainly had to adapt. A lot of our member organizations have also shifted gears, and we are going to do the same. So that doesn't stop the work that we do, and we're here to spread awareness and to also provide examples and to provide all of you with resources that we hope will help really lift the message, and I'll help you expand across your audiences the great work that you do in ways that we can all become more aware and more proactive in preventing sexual violence. So without further ado, now I have so many little panels to manipulate in a short amount of time, so excuse me. And all right, so for many of us here online, I also want to share that a lot of the information we'll be sharing today and throughout the month of April will be done through our social media channels as well. So feel free, if you're not already, to pause and add us on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. So at CALCASA and also at @Cal_CASA. So thanks so much. And if you would also like to drop your handles within the chat, happy to grab those later and make sure that we're following you as well. And you can also tag us and we'll do the same. And so Leah, I will ask if any questions come up during the chat, because unfortunately I only have so much space. Feel free to interrupt me so I can certainly respond directly, or you can as well.
No problem.
Right. So I suppose we do those other screens since we're not on Adobe Connect. But the two individuals that will be speaking will be myself, Carissa Gutierrez. I am the communications manager here at the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault. You may have already received a few messages from me, or many messages. I appreciate the feedback. And also just happy to be here. It's been a really great, 3 months now. And so still getting to know the team and still getting to know the landscape, and just really excited to be working with all of you, especially at times like this. So that's enough about me, but over to you, Leah.
And I am Leah Aldrich at CALCASA. Many of you know me and many of you don't. I've been around a really long time, and I am the a project manager here at CALCASA also. So I'm really very happy to see so many people having joined us today.
Thank you. And also thank you to all of you who are dropping your handles into the chat. This is fantastic. I think it's one of the quickest ways that we can actually communicate information in real time. So thank you. Now, I'm gonna have to minimize the screen. Now, the objectives for this web conference are, of course, to leverage the momentum of Sexual Assault Awareness Month to bring awareness to the work you do. It's also to frame activities as bold moves, and we'll get into that. You know, what is a bold move? Why are we making bold moves? What does that mean for ourselves, for our communities, and beyond? And to also, provide resources to support your messaging, and of course, promote virtual engagement. And at this time, I don't think there's been a better time to really explore that and build that out. So we'll hit these 4.
Excuse me, Carissa, are you advancing the slides? I'm still seeing the opening slide.
Really? Okay.
Are other people, can people just tell us if they're seeing the slide with the learning objectives or the opening?
No, it's still the opening slide.
Great.
Mine is still the opening slide as well.
Okay, I think we got the answer from everyone. So Carissa,
all right.
They're changing on your computer?
They are. Okay.
Why don't you stop your share and restart it again? I think that might solve that
great.
problem.
And thank you, everyone. Okay.
Appreciate everyone supporting us as we are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you're seeing the slide, right?
Now we're seeing the opening slide.
Do you see the objective slide?
No, we still see the opening slide.
Okay. All right.
In the lower left-hand corner, are you able to push those buttons to?
Yes, I am.
There
you go.
Now we see the objective slide.
Now you see it?
Yes,
we do.
All right. And you still see it?
Yes, we do.
And you see this next slide?
Go click next slide.
But, oh, so you're not seeing the next one?
Not yet. You have to.
There
now
it
we
is.
do.
That's interesting. All right, I have to note something here. Great. All right, so let's talk. Thank you everyone for bearing with us once again. It's gonna be great. So, yes, as mentioned for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, our major theme is bold moves. And here I have a quick statement from our CEO here at the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault. And I would just like us to take a moment to read it and just truly understand what it is that we're trying to do as far as the message that we're delivering.
Can you please read it, Carissa? It's helpful for
Sure.
people. It helps our captioner too.
Sounds great. So for bold moves, there are many factors that have contributed to shaping an environment in which sexual assault has become an epidemic in our country. The prevalence leads to a perception that sexual assault is inevitable, but we know that it is not. We know that violence is preventable, and we know that each and every person has a role to play in creating a society which is free from sexual violence. Bold Moves provides a roadmap by which everyday people from all walks of life can take actions toward ending sexual violence in their relationships, their communities, and ultimately society as a whole. All right, so each of us does in fact have a role to play. Okay, so just a few topics that we'll be covering specifically is an overview of SAAM 2020, what the Bold Moves campaign actually is, share with you toolkit and infographics that all of you can use and share to help tailor your message. And we'll end with some talking points and some messaging tips as well. And we'll certainly leave room for Q&A. And there will be questions throughout. And once again, if you would like to pose questions in the chat, Leah, I'll just ask that you just go ahead and let me know, and we can certainly respond to them in real time as well. So, okay, great. All right. So a bit about SAAM 2020. And you can see this slide, correct?
Yes.
So for SAAM 2020, thank you. As many of you know who have been participating for many years, it is a great time to host, and I had to add virtual events and fundraisers, recruit volunteers, nurture relationships, and most importantly, shine a light on the work you do and the impact you have on your community. So certainly many of you probably already have your programming set. You understand that there are certain events that you will be promoting during this time, or competitions, or recruiting volunteers and just getting the word out. So I'm very curious as we're talking about this, you know, what are some of the ideas that you have, and certainly how we can adapt some of those by the close of this call as well. Now, if you have any questions about this toolkit, or you miss this web conference, or want to share any of those tools with other staff people in your organization, there are a few places where you can go. And David, were you about to say something? Sorry, I heard something there. All right, so there are two major sites where you can go to learn more information. We have a landing page within our CALCASA website, which actually has all of the resources we'll be talking about during the course of this web conference, including share graphics, some sample tweets, the social media toolkit, and additional resources. You can also go to the boldmoves.org website directly. Not only do they offer a series of graphics themselves and also a series of tweets, but they also have a few activities that you can share out and promote through your own organizations. On social media as well, I would like to challenge you for just a moment, and I know we've been doing this throughout the conversation, but if you could pause and for the next 1 minute, open your phone, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, and follow at least CalCASA on Twitter or on one of these sites, and the @boldmoves.org. All of our content will be shared through these two sites or through these two channels throughout the month of April. So you're more than welcome to retweet, repost, or even use any of those components to fit the needs of your organization and the work that you do. So you can certainly go there as well.
And Carissa, some folks have already started dropping in events that they had planned for the real world, and that they are moving on to the virtual sphere. And Angelica is asking community partners to post on their social media with flyers that they've already made to the local rape crisis centers. Definitely, leverage those relationships with other folks who have websites, right? And have them post your content and information about your organization on their websites. Absolutely.
I love that.
Because what it does is it has this kind of rippling out effect. So that's a great way. And it's very simple, doesn't cost people any money. And all it takes is an ask, and people are generally very happy to do that. I think that somebody's doing 30 days with NSVRC.
Yes.
Yeah. So Christina, they're participating in the NSVRC's 30 Days of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And it's an Instagram campaign. Great idea, especially when you're working with youth advocates. Absolutely. This is exactly what we wanted to. We were hoping that you would say that you were doing, and we're really hoping that other people it'll spark ideas for other people who are participating in the webinar today.
And I wanted to build on that, Leah. I think that it's so great that they have Instagram stories that will be shared as well. Feel free to tag us, tag at CALCASA, tag at Bold Moves. We will certainly want to repost what you are posting as well. So I think there is value in sharing what all of us are doing and really pushing that out to all of our different channels. So I do appreciate that. Tag us, we'll make sure to repost and share.
Tag us, we will repost every post that you do through our own networks. Yes, it's the ripple effect, right? It's the web effect, right?
Yes, it is.
Stevie says that they have teal ribbon pins with information cards, and that with essential services on them, and that you normally hand out or pass out for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. You figured it was a good way to get the information out to people experiencing domestic violence at this time. I'm wondering, if you can do virtual pins and send to people, maybe in mass emails that you may be using already for your fundraising. You can send out the virtual pins in that way also.
Right.
Kelly in High Desert, the women's, thanks for dropping in your handle there, Kelly. We're gonna pull all of these together. People, yes, the 30 Days of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. It's a great campaign.
Yes. And I wanted to highlight something. Yeah, I don't know. I just saw Megan Stewart post about Denim Day. And of course, that's also a major thing for us. We won't be covering it during this web conference, but we certainly want to build momentum around that day. And we'll have more information about how we'd like to engage all of you, specifically on that last Wednesday of April, where all of us can really rally and still feel that sense of community and connection and awareness at the end of April as well. So I love that, and we'll certainly be building in that direction.
Oh, that's great. And CPAF is going to be doing, well, congratulations, CPAF, for a 10-year anniversary that you have on your campaign, United Against Violence campaign. And we'll be highlighting that during Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And the Do Your Part Network, that's an ethical storytelling. So we love storytelling efforts, and the more that people can tell their stories and get them out there, the more people want to share them, and so on. So there are quite a few here. Carissa, if you want to keep going, and people feel free, please continue to drop in events that you have planned that you can now move into the virtual space.
Yeah, and I'd love at the end of this web conference, we'll certainly take the transcript and be able to share that with all of those who were on the call today. So thank you. So we can continue to share and brainstorm and build on those ideas. So as far as the Bold Moves campaign, now feel free to join in if you'd like. If you have in fact used any of the materials, you can share that in the chat. If you have visited the website or seen our posts, feel free to share as well. So what is the Bold Moves campaign? The Bold Moves Sexual Violence Prevention Campaign actually focuses around 5 major bold moves. So we mentioned that quote from Sandra earlier about what it means for each of us to really take stock in ourselves and understand that we each play a role within our communities or within our relationships to prevent sexual violence. And it doesn't always look the same way. So within that, there are 5 major moves: learn, reflect, observe and analyze, act differently, and evolve. And if you go to the boldmoves.org website, it really expands these 5 different categories, and all of them work incredibly well with the information that we can currently share with our audiences. So something like sharing with others what they can learn about sexual violence or how we can prevent it. This is a bold move. The ability to reflect on really the way we interact with others in our space is a bold move as well.
Carissa,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt, but we're not advancing the slides anymore. We're not seeing the
Thank you.
slide
Here we
advance. There you
go. All right.
Thank you.
We're making it work. Thank you for that. So yes, they are bold because although these are small steps that each of us can take, they in fact do allow us to change our behavior and cause for, I think we've mentioned this a few times, this ripple effect. It affects the way we relate to others. It affects our relationships. It affects the dynamics of our own families or friendship groups, and that continues to ripple out into our communities. So I do invite you to go to the boldmoves.org website and check it out for yourself. There are a series of daily actions that each of us can take, and all of those different actions are easily shared through social media. They are set up that way so that you can just go in and share it, and then go ahead and add information about the work that you do. So why bold moves? All right, well, aside from the fact that it is something we believe is truly, something that's very important to us here at the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault, and even working within the movement, it is that each of us does have a role to play. And why bold moves? Because we shift the focus toward finding solutions. Yes, we are constantly learning. We're seeing the headlines. We see all these problematic situations play out in our media, but we want to shift the focus toward what can each of us do? We are not powerless in this situation. Why bold moves? Because we can make connections between all forms of sexual violence. I think earlier, and I'm forgetting the name, mentioned the intersectionality that they are including in their promotion during Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Bold Moves also covers a few topics within the work that we're doing. Why bold moves? Because we ask for personal responsibility. We ask each individual that's engaging with the campaign or engaging with us to ask themselves how they or ourselves present ourselves in certain spaces. What are we doing to prevent sexual violence? What are we doing to allow for certain conditions that allow for sexual violence to occur to continue to do so? So it really begins with ourselves. We make it clear we all play a role. We believe that, and we make it clear that it is a broad base of support. There are individuals who agree, yes, rape is bad, sexual violence is not good, but then what? And we show how small incremental changes can have a big impact on evolving our culture. These are small steps, but they are in fact bold moves. Now, once again, the Bold Moves website does offer a series of quizzes and action plans and conversation starters that individuals can have. So if people are sheltering in place with others or their families, this is one place where they can go to get some tips on how to have those conversations. There is a very well built out glossary of terms that are actively used not only within the movement, but also with others. So a word like intersectionality probably needs to be unpacked in those spaces as well. There's a great video that all of us can share that highlights what the Bold Moves campaign is doing. There's also, as I mentioned, graphics and other information that's ready to be shared and used as you see fit. And there's ongoing social content distribution. And there's also other partnerships that we've created with some media. So Upworthy released an article, I circulated it about a month ago, but you are also more than welcome to share that information as well. And if in fact you're confused about which website to go to for information, if you were to go to the calcasa.org website and you saw that SAAM banner on the landing page and you clicked on it, all of that information's here. So if there's one thing that you can take away today by going to the calcasa.org website on our landing page and clicking on SAAM 2020, you would be led to all of these different resources, and even includes a button to the boldmoves.org website. So hopefully that's not confusing you. All right. Now, as far as the toolkit and infographics, and I'm sorry if I'm speaking too quickly, so I can slow down. but I did want to share with you a few of these graphics that we've put together. So within the CALCASA website on our Sexual Assault Awareness Month landing page, we include a few figures. Now, these figures can certainly point to the work that each of these rape crisis centers are doing within the state of California. That's great. Information is good. People need statistics or need information, but that's only one part of the story. So how does this then, how can we go ahead and use a graphic like this to tell the story of the work that you're doing? It's you have to bring it back to you. So every time think, how do I fit into this? What am I doing about it? So I see something like the cost of sexual violence is costing about $140 billion to the state of California since 2012. And we can rightfully assume that it's much greater every year moving forward. What is the role? Hey, my center is doing this to prevent sexual violence. My center is putting on these events and talking about healthy relationships. We participated in Orange Day. We advocate for healthy relationships and healthy teen dating relationships. This is one way we lessen that cost, or this is why investing in the services that we provide will help bring down that number for the state of California. And Leah, what are some other ways that we could go ahead and use some of these graphics?
I don't know. No, I'm kidding. Well, I mean, if you have your private IG pages or your private Facebook pages, and they're linked or able to do forwarding between your Facebook and your Twitter or other outlets that you may be using, go ahead and allow things to circulate and recirculate. I know it can feel kind of like you have multiple personalities because you're sending from this outlet and then you send from this outlet and then you send from, but trust me, it's the more you are able to, it reverberates, right? So that people pick things up and then they forward and then they forward. So, and then you can use this kind of information, but feel free to, as you read an article online, if you're reading articles on Twitter, or if you're reading articles, just the LA Times or whatever, Washington, whatever you're reading, and they are related to sexual assault in some way, feel free to post or retweet and go ahead and hashtag bold moves with it, right? Because as Carissa pointed out, the campaign seeks to connect the dots for people, right? So for some people, the question is, well, how does knowing the cost of sexual violence, how does knowing that help do the prevention part, right? So it's a bold move, right, to educate people about not only the psychological, emotional, physical toll that it takes, but also the toll that it can take on us as a state, right? Or how something like gender pronouns. I know that this can be contentious in some settings. Making sure that we use non-gender specific language. But when you making a shift like that, just in regular speak and not just saying, hey, you guys, it crystallizes, brings into sharper focus our own consciousness awareness about participating or how we work to upend or change the culture on a daily basis. But then other people become curious, or they pick up these ways of speaking, understanding that these all lead to culture change, which in connecting those dots eventually lead to the prevention of sexual violence.
And I think that's a great point, Leah, is that all of these are sort of starting points as we continue to connect these dots, is that these are really meant to nurture those types of conversations we want to be having about sexual violence or what we're doing to prevent it. So I hope you can, I might have to ask this every slide, but I hope you can see my boldmoves.org/social toolkit landing page now. But as mentioned, the boldmoves.org website also has a lot of content that each of us can use to share. Okay, thank you. I needed that reassurance there in the chat. But it's a bold move to ask for consent before having sex. Now, something like that may sound, again, like a small step, but it is a bold move. And how do we go ahead and share that and use the share graphics to talk about what sort of consent materials has your center put together? What sort of events are you having that discuss this topic? You can be having these conversations virtually. You could be nurturing these forums. These are also really well built for Facebook. If you wanted to create a thread where individuals are responding to one another about what that means and what it looks like for them. So really, there are many ways that we can be using this information. And the share graphics to the right of the slide, there are many of them on the website. You are more than welcome to use those as well. So some of these have some of these statistics that we know well, but others are quotations from influencers or other individuals who do work in this sphere. You are more than welcome to use those as well. So feel free. These are all tools at your disposal to help you carry your message forward.
Undergirding all of this effort is to get people to continue to talk about sexual assault.
Yes.
Right. In the wake of Me Too, there was a lot of activity and a lot of flurry, and a lot of media coverage, and then people found themselves asking, well, what's next, right? We did not want to see all of the attention and concern around sexual assault in its many different manifestations, whether it's in the church, the military, colleges and universities, in the home, the Boy Scouts, where we connected all of those dots, and we want people to see how there's less than 6 degrees of separation between them and people who have experienced sexual violence, right? So with Me Too, elevated chatter, lots of people talking, and then as things kind of wind down, people just kind of, sexual assault becomes this back burner thing again, or the people who were had an elevated awareness or consciousness about sexual assault through Me Too don't know how to have a productive conversation, or are afraid to have a conversation about sexual assault because they feel like they don't know the right terms, or they don't know where to begin, or they're afraid that somebody is going to cancel them out as part of woke culture because they don't have all the proper terminology and what have you. So the Bold Moves campaign and going to the boldmoves.org website gives people ways to just feel confident about having productive conversations around sexual assault. That hopefully moves the culture forward, continuing the dialogue about sexual assault.
I'm sorry.
Bertha?
Yes, I'm here. Let's see. Okay. So thank you for that, Leah, as well. I was getting a little bit of feedback on someone's line, but I think that's now good. And yes, once again, I think, I know that the Bold Moves campaign, or at least a lot of the work going into the messaging and the outputs that we're releasing are really about having these conversations. And right now that most of us are home, it's a great time to have those conversations, whether it is with the people that we are sharing space with, or whether we're FaceTiming with them, or whether we're WhatsApping, or whatever platform that you're using. We are distancing physically, but we're still connecting socially. And so this is a very critical and interesting time, but these conversations don't stop. And Sabrina, I see, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was gonna respond to Sabrina's question, but you go ahead.
Oh, okay, go for it. But how do we tactfully and sensitively implement this messaging and conversations around sexual assault during April, while being sensitive to the overload and anxiety folks are already experiencing due to COVID-19? I think that's a great point. And I don't know, I should have asked this in the beginning, but what is everyone doing to remain sane and centered and at peace with what's happening? There's certainly a lot of information coming to us. I know I'm not the only one that's receiving about 20 emails a day or social media posts from all of my providers or connections telling me how they're handling COVID-19, or getting updates even from our own government about what that's looking like for our state or for our country. And it can be a very stressful and anxiety-filled time. But one thing that we did want to do while we were developing Bold Moves was focus more on ways that we can prevent it, right? We are in a crisis. You are a rape crisis center more often than not. However, what can we do to prevent rape from happening? What can we do? We focus on the solutions. We focus on the good examples. We focus on all of us being able to do something about it, whether that is engaging with our center directly. Maybe it is following one of you on social media. Maybe it is engaging on an online activity. Maybe it is reading more about what we can learn about this movement. But how do we do so tactfully and sensitively?
So I have a
really-
suggestion.
Yeah. Okay.
So part of, and I'm glad that Sabrina, I'm glad that you asked that question because, you know, it's not difficult for, well, clearly COVID-19 has taken priority over most people's consciousness right now around the globe simultaneously, right? And much of the conversation around COVID-19 is about safety, right? So you can use this idea of safety and being safe and secure in terms of, you know, this pandemic, and then use that at the same time to introduce or ask questions about other areas of safety. So are people, you know, sheltering at home? That's a pretty high alert comment, but I mean, phrasing, sheltering at home, it's usually used in terms of like active shooter incidents, but I get it. If people are safer at home is the other framing that I've seen out there with regards to COVID-19. So if we are safer at home and we're telling people good hygiene, washing hands, staying 6 feet away from other folks, and if you know, those kinds of things, what other ways are we making sure that people who are close to us are safe from other incidents that could cause us injury as well, right? So that you can use that as an opportunity to open up a conversation about other ways in which people can maintain a sense of safety, particularly around sexual violence, especially, or even domestic violence, because we know in some cases people are at home, but they may be in the home with people who do injury or harm to them also. So we can allow the safety conversation to give us entree into a discussion about sexual or domestic or dating violence. And the other thing that people can do, and if those of you who have already started doing it and tying those two together, please drop in the ways in which you have done that. That would be great. Mm-hmm. But we also know that this heightened anxiety is also probably triggering for some survivors, right? There are some survivors that this anxiety may feel familiar, right? And it's the indeterminacy of this moment that we are in. And so I think it's okay that if people are experiencing a heightened sense of anxiety, you can use that also as an opportunity to, you know, go into you're using your active listening skill and your counselor advocate training, and listen to people when they're expressing anxiety and say, what are there other things that are, that this is triggering for you, right? So use this moment of crisis as a way of either tapping into anxiety that people may be expressing. Are you okay? I'm noticing that you're expressing a level of anxiety, however you want to do that. And are you safe in other ways? Mm-hmm. Are there ways that we could talk to you about being safe in holistic ways, right? So use this moment as a door opening into these other ways, into talking about sexual assault. Some of the other agencies or folks on here have mentioned alternative healing practitioners. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people who have switched to doing yoga online. If we have friends or family members who are doing things like that online, it would be great to have those people plug or promote or suggest that they're, you know, if you are experiencing anxiety at home, here are some hotlines that you can, you know, tap into whenever you need to, whatever time of day. I think that's a great idea. People who are seeking emotional supports on a daily basis from the news, tell them to turn it off. I'm sorry. Because, and then go through them, look for strategies to reduce anxiety and not be re-triggered. And then Joey says that they have a therapist to whom they can refer folks who are offering virtual healing sessions. So I would go back up to Sabrina, that depending on the way in which people are presenting or the way in which you are initiating conversations, all of these strategies seem like they're effective. And other people have other strategies in which they have, again, used the COVID-19 crisis or linked, people's anxiety to the COVID-19 crisis and use that as a way in to talk about sexual violence.
Right. And I think that that's a great point, especially how we're tying in mental wellness and trauma-informed care into our outreach. And just as an example, our CALCASA Instagram yesterday provided a series of slides in our story about progressive muscle relaxation. And we just felt, again, we're hearing from people that it's too much sometimes, it's a lot. And we can't ignore the anxiety or the level of stress that it is causing, not only for ourselves, for our staff, for our audiences, and sharing these tools, sharing tools as well. So if I see that Joey posts about the nurturingchange.org, I would love to also promote that. So we can also be using this opportunity to nurture the relationships we have amongst each other and sharing these resources through our channels. So I think that's also a great way. So thank you for that. That was great. And I think we should continue to have that conversation. The Divi Institute, I'll have to look into that. All right.
Nice.
So some of these
are great resources. Please continue to, it's great when we could have transfers and shares of knowledge, right?
Yeah. I will say that even, do any folks have prevention focused ideas? Yes, Sabrina. I think that's another conversation that we're having, and I'm blinking on it now, but I believe there is a smaller prevention-based brainstorming meeting that's happening at the end of this week around that. So I'll make sure to circle back on that at the end. Now, as far as talking points, these are certainly some ideas. So as you're crafting your message, as you're getting information out, whether it is through your newsletter, your social media post, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, if you would like to dabble into the land of Snapchat, there are certainly different ways for you to use this kind of content. So that first point, it's important for every member of our community to feel safe and supported. Facing sexual assault can be scary and overwhelming. Yes, it can. However, how do we use a line like that to then craft a message? It's just a starting point. And we would go ahead and add the work that you're doing. So you're available to these individuals. And I've actually seen some of you already post across your social media pages how you address that these times are confusing. You address the fact that, people may be feeling anxiety. People may be trapped with individuals that could be causing them harm. However, you're available to them. And that in and of itself is a bold move. So being able to reach out to your neighbor, being able to reach out to your friends and make sure that they're safe, making sure that they got through the day is a bold move. It's a small move, but it's a way that each of us can engage with our communities to prevent sexual violence from happening. So again, just circling back to that point of it is a bold move. These are small steps that each of us can take. And these talking points that I'm sharing now to promote your center or even to promote other RCCs throughout the state, all of this information is also outlined and provided to you, and you can pick and choose what you would like to use to help with your message. It is on the CALCASA landing page for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and will also be shared with you after this web conference as well. So these are just a few ways that you can be. I personally love puzzles, and so I see this as a way of putting together different pieces to sort of craft an overall message. So this is one way that we can do it as well. And all of these statistics and numbers have been updated for the current year, or at least 2019 when we received our Cal OES information. So I just would like to share that as well.
And I think that even in looking at some of this language, there are ways in which this language should be reframed or tweaked to fit your communities or your organizations. What happened?
I don't know. Are you doing that?
I didn't do that. Anyway, my hands are down here.
Yeah, I know. I saw that and I was like,
that's
not sure
interesting.
what's happening.
So for example, I mean, if we look at the button number, the fourth one down, the thought that members in our community are being abused is horrible. Our services are important to help survivors, including children and youth. especially in this time, the thought that there are people who are sheltering at home in isolation, that we're safe from COVID-19 in theory, but it can also put us at risk for other acts of, things that could do harm or injury to us, right? So you can use COVID-19, you can take these talking points and insert the what's important to people right now, which is COVID-19 and staying healthy, right? The thought that their communities are suffering behind COVID-19 is a challenge for all of us. Let's also keep in mind that there are also people for whom they're also dealing with or struggling with ideas around sexual and physical violence, right? So go ahead and use this kind of language and reframe it to fit what kind of messaging or connection you want to make with your communities.
Absolutely. I think the worst mistake we can make right now is going silent. And so long as we continue to engage with our audience and let them know, hey, we're still here, we're still providing resources, we're still listening, and we're still having the conversations that need to be had, it's incredibly important. So using this language, tailoring it to fit your needs, allowing any of these resources to help you in furthering your reach is great. So thank you. Now, we are coming to a close as far as this presentation is concerned, but that does allow us certainly ample time to have any other conversations and address any other questions. And of course, remind you that all of these resources will be available to you, are already on our landing page, but will be shared with you after the web conference, including this recording. So again, anytime that you're using any of this content or you've produced your own and you would like to get the word out about something that you're doing, please tag Bold Moves, tag us, tag CALCASA, tag away. This is a great time to do that. We will be sharing your information. We will be promoting the work that you do, and we would love to highlight the great ways that each of us are making bold moves within our spheres of influence. So please.
Can I reiterate that one more again? More again.
Go.
We would love to recirculate and repost the work that all of you are doing. If you are, whatever you post, tag us, or if you forget, go ahead and just send an email directly to Carissa, and we'll figure out a way to get things up and running in social media for you. If you have pictures of, artwork that people are doing, or things that people are doing in their homes, or things that people are doing to stay safe at home, photos, those kinds of things, tag us, send them to Carissa. We will repost and recirculate your content for you. We really want to be very loud in the social media space during April. And the best way for us to do that and to do it for us to all do it together. So.
Yes, I've been seeing a lot of selfies, a lot of screenshots of people having these, phone calls or these conferences, or using things like Zoom to have virtual get-togethers. Taking a shot like that and being able to share that with our audiences and saying, hey, we're checking in on the people that we love. We are making bold moves and making sure we're all safe and connected during this time.
Hey, so checking in on loved ones is a bold move.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. I mean, we've been seeing the articles from Time and all these different sources, and they're talking about how isolation is not quite what we need right now. But once again, this is physical distancing for our safety, and social connection is incredibly important during this time. So checking in on those you love, checking in on those in your community is a bold move, and we encourage it. So once again,
or even people that you haven't spoken to in a while. I've been doing that also, catching up with old friends.
So at this point, let's see, it is 2:49. I believe we had called for about an hour to meet with all of you and share these resources, but also to allow time for any further conversation, any questions. And I did provide my email address, so if anything comes up or you would like to see something promoted, you're more than welcome to send it to me. But if during this time you would like to take the floor or have a question, feel free to drop it into the chat box. And again, I do just want to remind everyone, reminder, any notes for prevention? All right. Thanks, Sabrina. Okay.
Does anyone have any questions or innovative strategies or activities that they wanted to share, or even successes that they have had recently? Things that people have done to make themselves feel better during this moment of crisis and isolation. I know that people are listening to burning incense and listening to calming music, if that's the case. Hey, you know, keeping your anxiety down is a bold move, right? Because there are certainly forces out there that want to keep us kind of feeling tense and agitated out there. So
fun fact, Leah, I actually row 3 times a week. And now, because of COVID-19, our rowing club shut down. And they had all these rowing machines that were just stationary. So we actually started a rotation. And I now have a rowing machine in my apartment.
wow.
I know. But I just had to, yeah.
Fun fact, Carissa. I have a rowing machine in mine also, but I don't, mine is covered with dust.
No. But yes, I'm trying to, you know, just keep it lively, connecting with those people in my life. We do have virtual happy hours. I do a lot of puzzling and painting. And also it's really important that I sort of keep my finger on the pulse with all of you and the information that you're putting out. So please continue to tag us, continue to include us. Exercise is a bold move for our health. Yes. So if you have examples of ways that you are maintaining your health, your mental health, that is a bold move. Making sure you're okay, making sure you are safe is a bold move. So feel free to share that. I'm going to try the virtual happy hour. It's actually been very successful. I do encourage it. So I'm still gardening as well. I feel like it's just all these things in my toolkit are being used. Yoga and walking the dog for a bold move. Yes.
I need to get a dog.
Now
need
is
to
the
foster
time.
a dog.
Yeah, I've been
Virtual dance parties with the
I have.
that's on Instagram.
Yeah.
I got to figure out how to get on one of those. Now, this is what I want to do. I want to go onto the virtual, you know, dance party, right? And I want to post on that IG and say, hey, you know, dancing, you know, amongst ourselves is a bold move to prevent sexual violence. And I would love somebody to say, how is that possible? I'm like, I don't care. Just think about it. I am inserting bold move to prevent sexual violence in pretty much all of my online communication with people, to the degree that it makes sense, right?
Yes, I appreciate all of this engagement. And I'll also say that things like Twitter storms, or if you are having a web conference where you would like us to participate and be live tweeting during that, is one way that you can also generate engagement virtually. I also saw that other organizations, including ourselves, we are planning to make our Policy Advocacy Day a virtual event as well. So we're certainly playing with a few ideas. You know, creating momentum around Denim Day is very important. But I think at times like this, it really does allow us to be very creative and to spend some time thinking about the ways that we can really leverage these platforms to create engagement and to nurture that and build these relationships. So thank you. I like that. Michelle Obama is using the Instagram parties to promote voting for 2020. Nice. All right. Well, let's see. I like that this stream is coming in. We should continue the conversation. So I guess we can stay on for about a minute longer, unless there are any other questions. But just wanted to thank all of you for joining us today.
And please don't forget to go to the link that David has dropped into the chat. Feel free to download all of the materials that are there, circulate them, pass them around, reach out to CALCASA so that we can support any activities or events that you're having and increase your reach. If, you know, that's the idea for CALCASA, to be able to increase your reach to the degree that we're able to do that. Go to the boldmoves.org website to download any of that content as well.
Yes, and I also wanted to highlight, people mentioned the 30 days of SAAM. Bold Moves is also participating in 30 days as well. So you'll be seeing daily posts about one daily Bold Move if it helps to start that conversation for you as well. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Joey, and thank you everyone who joined us today. So Sexual Assault Awareness Month, full steam ahead, and we look forward to engaging and seeing all of you on this virtual platform. So feel free to reach out to us and tag us and everything. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Be safe. Being safe, it's a bold move.
Yes, it is.